It's more than just creating content. Like, there really is a thick community within these walls.
If you do a Kickstarter campaign, you have to hit your goal.
If I didn't have that pressure of you have to meet your goal in the time period that you say, you're going to, I don't know if we would have actually executed it. But I'll tell you what is the most expensive part is a damn.
Welcome back to another video. We're about to tour the Good Vibe Studio, and we're gonna ask the owner how they raised $100,000 via a Kickstarter campaign, how they built out the entire studio, the business model behind the studio, and how they actually serve all of the creators in the area. So let's just go ahead and go check it out. Wow. Good to meet you, Carly.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
Very
so
good.
To have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having us. So this is the Good Vibe Studio.
Yes.
Entryway right now. Tell me a little bit about, how you came up with the idea and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, this studio space is really designed for all creators, photographers, videographers, content creators, podcasters. We saw a need in the Valley, being a team of videographers. We saw a need for a creative space that was really turnkey for so many creatives. During the pandemic, our business kind of exploded because we were able to cater to so many different brands and businesses with our video production services. And that's where we were like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be cool if there was one space that we could take our clients to where they could have variety in the backdrops and variety in the types of content that they shoot? Why does this not exist?
Yeah, for real. I need it,
Yes.
I was telling you the other day, I was like, I would love to come film here more, Well, let's just go ahead and take a tour. So this is obviously the entry area. I love the vibe right when you walk in, right? Obviously, the Good Vibe Studio, Right out of the gate, we've got a little podcast studio set, right?
Yeah, so our podcast room is awesome. When we designed this space, we kind of felt this buzz around podcasting, but it wasn't until we opened doors where we were like, oh my gosh, the need for a podcast studio is there. And that's exactly what this room is designed for. We were very, very intentional on soundproofing. Yeah. Again, having a background in video production, audio is everything.
I remember walking in here, I'm like, there is no echo at all.
It is it is like you are recording in your closet full of clothes, which is what, back in the day, that's what we would tell our clients to do when they were doing voiceover. So we double insulated the walls, made sure there's lots of soft, cushiony fabrics and furniture in here to really absorb that sound. So this room is awesome. Obviously, it's used for podcasts. We've used this room for voiceovers, audiobook recording, any type of audio recording needs. This room is perfect for that.
So cool. And you can move stuff around if you need to or whatever. But I love the way it's set up right now.
Yeah,
too,
it's cozy.
Yeah, very cozy. Well, let's keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so down this hall we have some merch. We've got our swag,
Which I love.
A little Good Vibe swag.
Yeah.
This is our blank canvas. So this is really the heart of our studio. It is our largest space of all the studio rooms. And it is literally a blank canvas. This is our most popular room because people can really create whatever they wish. It has your classic cyclorama wall that we've built. We have 3 Gemini light panels that are installed that come with the room. There's a sunroof if you want a peak of natural light, but it also has a blackout shade if you want full control.
Yeah.
It comes with hair, makeup, and wardrobe room. This space is really, really fun to play in.
I love the cyclorama wall, by the way. Probably my favorite thing out of the entire studio. And in a little while, we're actually gonna sit down and I'm gonna interview you, and I wanna talk about, what it took to build the wall and all of that. We're gonna get into all that in a little while. So everybody watching will have to stay tuned for that. But before we do, I would love for you to just kind of show me the other studios that you have here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. This first one is the ethereal room.
You can tell this one's almost set up right now for a podcast.
For a podcast, yeah. This actually,
I love that.
Because there's so many soft textures in this room too. It has become really popular for podcasting as well. It's called the ethereal because it's dreamy, it's feminine, but you can also take the pink pillows away, pull the curtains, and it's very neutral, so anybody can shoot in here.
I love it.
And make it their own. But again, nice big windows. We've got blackout shades if you want full control of the lighting, but it's kind of nice to have the option for some natural Arizona sunlight.
I love that.
Through.
Yeah, no, I love it so much. And every room has like a little snack table, I've noticed. Like you've got a little mirror.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know for me, I got to check my hair. You know, I got to make sure we're all good to film, right?
Yes, we've got water, snacks, mints. I mean, we thought about everything. We literally were like, what would be the perfect space for us? And snacks, obviously, were a big part of that. You gotta, you know, you're hungry when you're creating.
For sure,
you gotta feed the hunger.
1,000,000%. I could not agree more.
So, second room.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the modern. This one is definitely a little bit more darker tones, more of a masculine vibe, kind of a living room office setting. This room has been used for e-course filming, photo shoots. Again, you could use this for a podcast room as well. We haven't had a podcast in here yet, but maybe by the time this video airs.
For sure. I mean, I would do a podcast in here, you know, why not? I think this gives me like very masculine vibes.
Yes.
You know, and like you don't have to do anything to keep it masculine, you know, which I love.
Totally.
And I love the idea of being able to, you can kind of work with the, I like this one because there's multiple things I feel like you could do, you know, in this one in particular.
Oh, we've had people move furniture around, bring props and things in to kind of add, like they like the base of this, but they have some added elements or furniture pieces that they want to bring in to really make it their own. I mean, these photo frames, you could, you know, put your own photos or art in there to kind of make it your own.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's totally open. We like to call this space our production playground. It is open to play in, to move around, to really customize.
I love that.
It's hard to say which one's my favorite, but I have to say this one comes very close.
Might be your favorite, yeah.
Because it's a little bit larger than the other two styled rooms, so we thought it'd be very beneficial to put the paper backdrop option. If someone wants like a little bit of a studio look, but maybe not want to rent out the blank canvas, they can use this room, and it's perfect for them because they've got studio look with a bunch of different color backdrops, but they also have a lifestyle look too.
Yeah.
Again, they can pull up the window shades for a nice, yummy, natural light, or they can bring in, you know, studio lighting and do like really editorial, kind of edgy studio look.
Which I love,
A moment for the disco ball.
Oh,
Gotta have a moment.
You've gotta have that. Right? Yeah, that reminds me of, I don't know if you follow the influencer like Christian Guzman at all.
Okay.
He owns Alphalete, which is like the big athletic brand or whatever. But his like girlfriend, they've shot a lot of like their products with like the disco ball, you know?
It's great.
Oh, you gotta have it. Yeah, for sure. I love that. Well, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go sit in front of the cyclorama wall, which I love. That might be my favorite.
Okay.
I love the cyclorama wall. And I wanna ask you some questions about, you know, the business behind it and, you know, and then also, you know, for people wanting to rent it, you know, what you charge and kind of your future, what you're looking at, and we'll just go ahead and jump right into it.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So really quick, before we make it over to the cyclorama wall, one thing that I noticed as we were walking, and we had talked a bit about it, is you have this really unique like loading dock area, right?
Yeah.
Which is super helpful. I remember pulling up and I was like, how are we gonna get all the camera equipment in here, you know? And you can park your car right there, walk all of your stuff like directly into the studio, which is really cool.
Yeah, very convenient. Again, like being a team of videographers where we're lugging around a lot of equipment, this was a key component that we're like, we have to have this. Big door frame, so that way you can have easy access to load in all your equipment, all your props, all your furniture, whatever it is you need. Also, having covered parking in Arizona is clutch.
You have to have it.
Yeah, so the fact that we have like tons of covered parking is just another element that
which
was
I
really
love. And the door just like stays open.
And it just stays open.
I love that. Yeah,
totally.
It's not like constantly slamming, you know?
Exactly.
So talk to me about what we have right here on the right-hand side.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this is probably one of the most special pieces of the studio space. There's a lot of names on the wall, and all these names were contributors to our Kickstarter campaign that we launched when this idea of the studio was just an idea. Before we started building, we launched a Kickstarter, and there was probably about 100 people that kicked in, and we raised just a little over $100,000 in 60 days, which was insane. Like, talking about it now, I'm like, how did we do that? But it really was community that came together, and it's such a thick thread of the studio space. You feel it when you're here. So we had to put all their names on the wall, give them
So
some
cool.
love. And then a moment for our contractor too. He was absolutely an incredible contractor. Actually the dad of one of my employees for our video production company. And he when we started the build out of this space, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So throughout the entire journey of building the space, he was going through chemo and never once complained.
Wow.
Like never ever
Yeah.
slowed him down. And unfortunately he passed this past September, but this was one of his last big projects.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome to walk into this space and feel his legacy continue to live on, and we're very, very proud of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So cool, and such a cool memory.
Yeah.
And I love that that's like the first thing you see when you're bringing all of your equipment in and you're walking in and you're about to shoot.
Yeah.
Very, very cool touch.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that. Well, let's go ahead. We'll sit in front of the cyclorama wall and we'll jump into
Let's
it.
do it.
Let's do it. So you did a Kickstarter campaign, right? And you had the idea of building it out, which we talked about a little while ago, and I love that, you know. And you were telling me that, which I didn't know, by the way, and I want to make sure we share it with everybody, that if you do a Kickstarter campaign, you have to hit your goal. And I didn't know that. Like, can you talk to me a little bit about that?
It's actually, honestly, if I didn't have that like pressure of you have to meet your goal in the time period that you say, you know, you're going to, if I didn't have that pressure, I don't know if we would have actually executed it. But I think Kickstarter is one of the only crowdfunding campaign like platforms where they implement that. There are many other crowdfunding like, you know, platforms that you can utilize that don't have that case, but it is kind of a cool, there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of story, and again, the buzz around our community was like, oh my gosh, Good Vibe is at like $82,000 and they have 7 days left in their campaign. Let's rally together and like find solutions to figure out how they can make it past the finish line. And we saw that big time in the last week of the campaign. So again, like there's so many things that I learned throughout the journey of those 60 days of the Kickstarter campaign. And if anyone, you know, needs some tips and tricks on how to execute one, I'd be happy to share. But I would say the marketing component and the community building component around a Kickstarter is pretty invaluable.
Like looking back, what were some of the mistakes that you made?
Oh, we actually didn't hire the contractor until I didn't think it was going to be real until I saw it like in our bank account. And when it was, I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, now the real work begins, right? Because it's actually like has to happen. So it was go time. It was full steam ahead. I mean, it was like a couple days after we hit our goal that I was interviewing contractors, and that's when one of my employees was like, my dad's a contractor, we should talk to him. If it's not him, maybe he knows someone. At that time, it was really hard to find like solid contractors that could execute in the timeline that I wanted to do. And this is a very unique space. It's not a cookie cutter type project. It's very customized and unique. So it was really, really hard to find a contractor. So we got very blessed and very lucky to find the one that we did, because he just ran with it. I would spitfire all these ideas of like, you know, very, very specific ideas, where the outlets need to be, how the walls need to be double insulated. This cyclorama wall, he's never built one in his life, but
it turned out incredible.
Well, he told me, he was like, I've built a couple skate ramps for my kids like a couple decades ago. So it's kind of the same.
It is.
And they did, this is probably one of the better psych walls, and we toured like a ton of studios when we were doing our market research for this, and we wanted to make sure this one was like solid, it's gonna last, be sturdy, and you know, top notch for our clients.
It's so particular, you know, like as you were saying that, I was looking at all the lighting, right? And you've literally got an outlet for every light, like everything was very thought through.
Totally.
You know, was there any mistakes that you made along the way where you were working, the contractor was working, and then you're like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, like we forgot fill in the blank?
Yes, I would say, I don't know if I would say like mistakes because I mean, this was like new territory for me and my team. So we really, I mean, every single situation, every single decision was like a learning opportunity for us.
Which is great.
Which is awesome. And honestly, you have to have that perspective when you're diving into something new and uncharted territories. And if I didn't have that perspective, Lord knows this place would probably not be standing right now. But there were many, I would say probably like the biggest like, ooh, punch in the gut type situations were the expenses of things that I thought maybe we didn't need, or I wasn't expecting, and then the expense of it, I was like, damn, that wasn't in the budget. Didn't know that was going to be a part of. So again, it's finding solutions, it's problem solving, being a business owner and entrepreneur. Like, you have to flex that muscle. If you're not flexing that muscle on a consistent basis, you're stuck. You know what I mean? I feel like consistently we just have to be finding solutions and problem solving, because that's where growth lies.
I love that.
And this process of building the space was very much of that.
What does it cost to build something like that?
Yeah, it's something I didn't know when I was going into. I was kind of going in blind to say, okay, I have an idea, but had no idea how much it would cost. And again, our contractor has never done one before, so this was new territory. And I think he did an amazing job, kind of went over and beyond. So you can get quotes from different people, and I'm sure you'd get different numbers. But this one was about $20,000 to build. But I'll tell you what is the most expensive part is the damn paint. I mean, paint, it's the upkeep of it, because you have to get specialized paint that's non-reflective for the lights, you know, to be able to shoot the best on this wall, and that's pricey.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent about $200 for, like, you know, a jug. It's like 2 gallons, I want to say, and we go through about a quarter of that every time we paint.
Do you try to tell people, like, not to wear their shoes? I'm sure some people want to do like a full body shoot though. Like, how do you kind of?
Yeah, we provide booties. They're kind of like covers for your shoes that the crew can use when they're shooting on here. Again, it's like we're very mindful on the onboarding. Like, if a new client's coming in and they book the blank canvas, we'll call them and be like, hey, what are you shooting? Like, what is it? And if they're doing full body, do they need fresh paint? Because some creatives will come in and they'll cover the floor. They just like having the big space. So for those shoots, we don't have to paint.
They'll like throw a rug down, or they're like doing some sort of like, I love that.
Yeah, so we definitely do our due diligence, because we know that every shoot is very different, and some people need a very clean slate, other people's not so much, so we'll save the paint.
What is the most expensive thing when building out a studio if somebody's watching?
Yeah, for us, lighting. We poured so much into the lighting equipment that we purchased because we knew that we needed to. It's like, if we're going to open up like elevated studio space for content creators, we need to actually like pour in to buy the right equipment for it, not half-ass it. So a big portion of that Kickstarter campaign actually went to the lights that are hanging in this room right here. Because again, I mean, these lights they're LED panels, but they are some of the most like powerful LED panels on the market right now. And it's really cool because you can change these panels to be any color you want, like any color you want. So instantly in a flash, you can change the backdrop color.
I love that. Which
is great, because a lot of our clients that have brands and businesses, part of their branding and their marketing deck has specific colors, and so they'll send us their colors, and we instantly can like get their brand colors on their backdrop, and it's quick and
click
easy.
of a button, right?
Yes.
Like, I know for me, when I was getting started, like, I wish that there was something like this that I could have just gone and rented. You know, I feel like I would have 10x'd the amount of subscribers and followers that I would have had I started day one with good audio, good lighting, and a good set, right? And I think for people watching, like, the most practical thing that they could probably do is to find a studio, either this one or one like it, and just start there, you know, and maybe do like a monthly, and talk to me a little bit about what that would look like for somebody who's like, hey, I would love to come in and rent, you know, one of the sets, or I'd love to rent the cyclorama wall. How could they do that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up, because literally just yesterday we had this couple come in who they're like, you know, we've had this idea for a podcast for so long, but we really did not want to commit to like buying the equipment. Like, how do we know what equipment to buy? So they discovered our studio, came in for a tour, and 3 days later booked the podcast room to just test it out. Just like you said, it's like you can test it out, see how it goes, and then, you know, down the line, if you're really ready to have your own studio and your own equipment, then you're geared up and you're teed up to do so. But we do offer a membership package. So this membership is awesome for photographers. Like, say you have a photographer who loves shooting outdoors, but really values the studio look, and they have a handful of clients that really value the studio look as well.
Sure.
Not enough to have their own studio per se, but enough to say, okay, we know 10 hours a month, like we're for sure guaranteed to shoot in a studio space. This membership is a great opportunity for them because it's consistency. And it's a discounted rate.
Yeah.
And again, they're deeper into the community that we've built around here in the studio space, because it's more than just creating content. Like there really is a thick community within these walls where a photographer can meet a new makeup artist, or a video team, or a podcaster can meet a photographer that they really vibe with. And so for their next cover art shoot or their rebrand or whatever it may be, there's this connection that's made within these walls in the creative industry that is like so freaking valuable.
I love that. Yeah, you were saying the last time that which I didn't even really think about, but the idea that because you have multiple different places for people to shoot, right?
Yeah.
So when they're not shooting and they're grabbing a cup of coffee or whatever, they're running into each other. And I love that, because there's so often where I'm like trying to find somebody very particular to do a particular thing that I'm looking for. And obviously I've got like Jacob behind the camera and I've got incredible people on my team, but sometimes you need that very particular thing. And I'm like, well, who do I don't know anybody to do that, right? And if you were at a studio, you might just rub shoulders with that person,
right?
Which is really cool.
Right.
So if I were to come to you and I said, hey, Carly, I would love to shoot, a couple days a week or whatever. Like, would you customize a plan for somebody like me?
Yes, we do have a bare minimum. Like our minimum is you have to be here 6 hours a month, or at least, pay for 6 hours a month. It's a 6-month commitment.
Okay.
But essentially it is custom. Like on the back end, we've done all of our math and calculations on how to, creating the equations on how to create those custom packages. But again, we also know that every creative has their own set of needs. So as long as they're hitting the minimum, we can create a custom package from there. But again, at the same time, we're also very mindful to make sure we're not like overbooking, or if there's like an e-course being shot in the blank canvas, we're not going to have like a super loud photo shoot going on in the boho. So it's also very important for us to have our studio manager who really has her eyes on like, okay, what's going on in every room, who's like, we're very, very mindful of that. So that way there's this not like chaotic overwhelm of like overlapping.
Which I love.
Yeah, which is so important. But to answer your question about like pricing and options for different creatives, if you're just wanting to like come and try it out, we do offer 2-hour time blocks. So you can book any studio room in 2-hour increments. So people can book for a couple of hours, feel it out, and decide if they want to do a membership from there.
I love that. And my final question for you is, what's your vision with everything? In 5 years, do you want a great big studio? Do you want to just have this studio that you're just jam-packed? Like everybody, you've built an incredible community of people. Like, do you have kind of a vision of where you would like to go?
There's always a big picture vision. Like there's always, again, like as an entrepreneur, it's like once you do one thing, it's like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? And I think that I have to say one of the most special pieces of the space that we have is that it's not super big, but it's big enough.
Sure.
And it's allowed an amazing opportunity for me to meet others who own studio spaces in LA, or Nashville is another city that I love. And I've met with people who own big studio spaces there, and even here in Phoenix too. And I look at them and their business models and what they're doing, and it's awesome, but it's very different than what we have here. And there's an amazing opportunity for us to kind of cross promote, because there is such a need for this like smaller to middle size productions. So to answer your question on that, I think if and when we do open more studios, they'll feel very much along the same size, space, energy, and feel of this one. But the big picture goal is to open in other cities. I feel so passionate again about community, and seeing the creative community here in Phoenix is something that just lights me up. And and I'm starting to see it in other cities too. So I want to be a part of it. I want to be in the mix of it and create a space that can be home to so many creatives that really need it.
I love that. Yeah, and I can see you light up when you talk about it. You have to be passionate, I believe, in the world of the creative, right? Like if you're not passionate, you're not going to go very far. And I can tell you're really passionate, and I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for letting us tour this. You know, where can people, if they want to work with you or they want to book a set or a room, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so thegoodvibestudios.com is our website. That's where you can find all the information on our studio rooms, our pricing, availability, and we're on Instagram, we're on all the social channels, so connect with us there. We do offer events here too. It's something that we're starting to see a trend of. Again, it's very small, intimate events, 30 to 40 people is what we can hold here, but we'll do monthly studio sessions where they're like educational workshops. And a lot of people have been booking the space out for like live podcast events and workshops and things like that too. So
that could be really cool.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of them where they'll set up all the chairs and they'll do like a live podcast.
It's cool.
I think I should do that sometime.
I think you should.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like
honestly, it's a great way to connect with your community, you know, because podcasting, it's like you have this amazing community around it, but to invite them into your space, into the room, and to have that audience interaction, there's something pretty magical about that.
For sure.
So I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay, yeah, definitely hold me to it. Well, thank you so much, Carly. I really appreciate your time, and I know for a fact that people will be reaching out to you, and you have an awesome studio here.
Thanks, Austin.
Yeah.